For God so loved the world. Everybody has heard or seen that most famous Bible passage. On the roads, at sporting events, online. It's everywhere. John 3:16. It's a common sight across the United States and throughout the world. The world as we understand it. We can only wonder if the contemporary Christian who proudly broadcasts this very heartwarming message, for God so loved the world, realizes that it reflects only one phase in the life, loves, and hatreds of the first century Johannine community. John chapter 3, verses 16 through 18. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, so that everyone who believes into him might not perish, but might have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Whoever believes into him will not be condemned, but whoever does not believe has already been condemned, because he has not believed into the name of the only Son of God. The fourth gospel we call John expresses both a positive and a negative attitude toward the world. Negative attitude? You would never know that from reading this passage that the designers of our liturgical reading butcher and rip out of context. Look once more again at this passage just read. Here is what a lot of Christians imagine it means. But here is what it actually meant. Wow, quite a difference. That looks strange and unfamiliar, no? Again, the fourth gospel we call John, when read honestly, expresses both a positive and a negative attitude toward world. The positive attitude is clear in this Sunday's passage and elsewhere in the gospel. The Johannine Jesus is actually glad to come into the world. After all, he is the light of this world, who willingly becomes human and pitches his tent among us. By the way, what does fourth gospel mean by the world? Is it the globe? The whole planet Earth? No. Could it possibly mean everyone, everywhere, at all times, all the peoples living on Earth? No, not that either. So, what is the world in the Johannine sense then? You know, we better understand what world means in John, because the negative attitude found in this gospel is actually far more common than the positive view. Reading John honestly, the world is the reality that refused to receive Jesus. The world is the entity that is basically and essentially at odds with Jesus. According to John, the world rejects the spirit of Jesus. In fact, the world positively hates Jesus and his followers. According to an honest reading of John, the Johannine Jesus responds to this evil world by determining to judge it. He does this because the sons of darkness live in it. In other words, the world is the reality of the sons of darkness. The Johannine Jesus prosecutes the world as its judge. And later, the Paraclete will carry out the formal trial and convict the world of false righteousness, false judgment, and submission to the devil. Do you see how ripping John 3:16 out of context really distorts how we understand the greater message of the fourth gospel and the community that produced this gospel? How are we 21st century Western Bible readers to understand the mixture of these positive and negative attitudes toward the world? And how are we to understand the coexistence of strong love and deep-rooted hatred in John's community long after Jesus departed this world? Following Dr. Bruce Molina, Dr. John Pilch, and the rest of the Context group of biblical scholars, it is very important to point out that whenever you speak about Jesus and the New Testament, you are not talking about anything Jewish, Christian, or pagan. Those categories, Jew and Jewish, Christian and pagan, are always anachronistic in theology, historical Jesus research, and simple Bible reading. In our modern usage, these words all point to groups and values that post-date Roman Emperor Constantine and the 4th century Common Era. All Jews on planet Earth today trace back to the Talmuds. All Christians on Earth today trace back to Christendom, the political religion of Emperor Constantine and its subsequent ecumenical councils. And the word pagan was coined after Constantine by Roman Christian elites to dishonorably label non-Christians who didn't conform with the new program. So what would be more appropriate designations when discussing New Testament peoples? Context scholars suggest that it would be better that instead of using Jews or Jewish, use Judean or Israelite. Instead of calling New Testament peoples Christians, it would be better to refer to them as Messianists. And instead of calling anything in the New Testament pagan, it would be more appropriate to use the term Gentile or non-Israelite. Our liturgical celebration and how we read the Passion according to John, where we go back and forth with different readers, a chorus and a narrator, and the priest playing Jesus or the deacon playing Jesus, right? It was intended as a historicization of a faith festival, mainly as a result of an establishment of Christianity as a state religion in the 4th century. And it's been misused, of course. We've used it for anti-Semitic purposes. We've horribly abused our Jewish brothers and sisters using it, especially when you translate John by putting in the word Jews all over the place.
Yes.
Then
it should be Judeans.
It should be Judeans. It should not say King of the Jews. It should say King of the Judeans. And our New American Bible still hasn't fixed that. It's a big problem. Big problem.